Hi everyone, CC from Barking Dog Interactive here. Today I want to show you a prototype of another game we're developing for Sifteo cubes. Now we don't have a name for it yet, but we do have some of the gameplay mechanics working, so let's take a look. The core gameplay revolves around solving equations to defeat monsters, so it's a bit of an educational math adventure game. For my day job, I work with educational materials for teaching mathematics, so this was a bit of a natural progression for me. The inspiration for this game came from the physical nature of the interaction that you have with the cubes. If you line them up and you put numbers on the faces, you end up with something that looks a lot like a mathematical equation or expression. But unlike the expressions we worked with when we were in school, they're all constrained to the surface of the paper, but by putting the equations on these Sifteo cubes, you can physically rearrange the terms to create new expressions. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I developed a little math puzzle game to go around it, and here's how it works. So you have this team of adventurers. You got a mage, a warrior, an archer, and they're challenged by a monster. In this case, it's a mummy, looks like. So the goal is to defeat the mummy by creating an expression that matches its numbers. So he's got a 32 on there. Now you'll see at the bottom of each of these cubes there's a number and an operator. It's kind of hard to see there, but there's like a 5 plus, 7 minus, 1 times. And what you can do is each of these characters, you can tap on them to change the multiplier that goes. So the term steps through 4 multiples of their base number. So he goes by 5s, he goes by 7s, and he goes by 1s. So what you're trying to do, and what you'll notice is that if you take 2 cubes and put them together, the little operator will light up. Oops. See how the plus lights up. So now this expression is 5 plus 7. Or we could do 5 plus 1. Or we could do 1 times 7. Or we could do 7 minus 1. So by rearranging these cubes, you get different sorts of equations. And the goal is to try and make the number 32. So what we might be doing is we might say, well, let's go up to 20 there and 14 there. So 20 plus 14 would be 34 minus 2. So there's the equation. And so when we put the mummy up to that, he does his damage, but then he gets defeated. And so the gameplay just revolves around trying to build the right number sequence to defeat the monster that's challenging us at any given time. Now this is interesting because when you play with numbers in this fashion, you begin to develop a certain number sense. You start thinking logically about the numbers. You end up doing a lot of analysis of the numbers, trying to deconstruct the target number 32 into your available components. And what does it mean when the target is odd or even, positive or negative, multiples of 3, 4, large, small. It's challenging for adults, but it's also a great exercise for kids to go through. So right now the game is skinned with your typical fantasy tropes, but of course it could be skinned with any number of graphic styles. And so that's the game. There are, of course, a lot of things you could do to expand this. Some of the things we're thinking about are things like thieves that could backstab the monster by going on the other side of the equation. And what I'm working on here is a larger dungeon that you can go through that has many monsters in it, and there's like a larger metagame where you have to have a strategy about which monsters you fight in which order in order to make it through the dungeon. So there's like other levels of mathematics that you could layer on top of this. So that's our game, Yes, it's about math and equations, which is kind of dull to some people, but in the vein of games like Picross or Sudoku, the math and logic elements are light enough that just about anybody can play it. Adults can play it for straight-up amusement, and parents can feel good about giving it to their kids because it develops number sense. So that's the game, and thanks for listening.